Good morning, everybody. And I think some of you, I don't know whether you are in east side of USA or you are in Korea, but some of you are studying abroad in basically in United States. So if that is the case, and good evening to you all. And today I would like to share with you about the climate change. But usually when I giving a lecture, I always start with sustainable development. So because climate change is part of the achieving the sustainable development, and so understanding of the sustainable development is basic and very important to have a comprehensive overview of the issues. Next, please. In my personal view, the sustainable development, including climate change, will continuously be the vision and objective of the global community. Why? Because if we continue to pursue economic development model of the past and the consumption and the production pattern of the past, the planetary boundaries, the Earth's self-purification or sustaining capacity most likely be destroyed. And also sustainable development is important because unlike Millennium Development Goals, the Sustainable Development Goals will continue to be global communities' common and primary goals even after 2030, the target year for the current SDGs. Because 9 MDGs were the goals developed only and just for the developing countries. But Sustainable Development Goals are the goals developed and agreed based on the universal values and agendas, issues that global communities are facing commonly today, in the past, and I believe it will be. Next, please. And today, as a global environmental challenges, people talk about the 9 planetary boundaries, which is climate change, biosphere integrity, land system changes, freshwater use, biochemical flows, ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosol loading, stratospheric ozone depletion, and chemical pollution. And if you look at the picture, ozone depletion is under control because of the Montreal Protocol. And ocean acidification is still okay, but we are close to the planetary boundaries. The circles with the dots, that's where the planetary boundary is. If we go over these boundaries, which is the tipping point, then it is really hard to go back to within the planetary boundaries. And so climate change is already over the planetary boundaries, and biosphere integrity is also having a problem. And the land system change is also, and also the biochemical flows as well. Next, please. So today's presentation will focus on why sustainable development and the challenging issues in the 21st century, and also what is the SDGs, and what is the cause of climate change, which is today's main topic, and what are the impacts of the climate change and the main agendas of climate change, and what should we do to stop climate change. Next, please. So let's start with the definition of sustainable development. Sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. It is the definition developed the World Commission on Environmental Development, the Commission, in 1987 on their publication called Our Common Future. The embedded values and agendas of the concept of SDG, Sustainable Development, is the intertemporal and the intergenerational equity and justice with regard to environment and natural resources, and the recognition of natural constraints and planetary boundaries, that is, planet Earth's limits to carrying capacity. So it means that before sustainability became the global issue, especially economic professions, they have long assumed that we are living in an open economy. But because of various environmental degradations and including climate change, people realize that we are living in closed economy. So Earth itself is closed system, not the open system. And also acknowledging that natural resource cannot be substituted and replaced by man-made capitals. For a long time, we believe man-made capitals, man-made resources could substitute the natural resources. Next, please. So why development or sustainable development? First, population growth. Second, natural resource depletion and environmental degradation. Population growth, especially in developing countries, required to have continuous economic growth, okay, to eliminate poverty and the challenges they are facing with. But if we follow the same development pattern of the past, then we will be in trouble. That will deplete natural resources and that will degrade environmental damages bigger than ever. Next, please. So why, if we follow the same pattern of economic growth pattern of the past, what will happen? Natural resources will be depleted more rapidly and environment will be damaged more rapidly because most of population are in developing countries and most of the growth is happening in developing countries. Next, please. And most of people in poverty, they are living in developing countries. Next, please. For a long time, since the sustainable development concept was developed, the international and global society believed that there is a triple bottom lines for sustainable development: economic, social, and environment. But I personally believe that environment and natural capital is not one of the pillars. It is the foundation of economic and social system. So to achieve, we have to look at the environment and natural capital as a foundation. And based on that, we have economic pillars, social pillars, and governance, which decide institutional and decision-making processes and outcomes of what we do. And so that way we can achieve the sustainable development. Next, please. So challenging issues in the 21st century is poverty, income and wealth inequality, and human-induced climate change, ocean acidification, and energy, and overuse of freshwater resources. Next, please. Biodiversity loss and pollution caused by excessive flows of nitrogen and phosphorus, especially as a result of heavy use of chemical fertilizers by the farmers, and solid waste and the plastic waste issues, and land use, deforestation, and aerosol loading, especially PM 2.5, and chemical pollution from industrial use, and ozone depletion, and food security. But of these issues, fortunately, ozone depletion has been restored. And so we are under control with regard to ozone issues. Next, please. So as you all know, there are 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Next, please. And these goals are can be categorized in three so-called sustainable development pillars: social, economy, and environment. 1 to 6 is related to the social issues, and 7 to 12 with economy, and 13 to 17 with environment. But one thing we have to remember is that we categorize these SDGs in 3 pillars, but they are very closely and highly related, linked to each other directly and indirectly. Next, please. Okay, could you move to page 27? From here to page 27, I just put this for your information as a reference to use if you need. Okay, and so I will just focus on today's theme. Okay, next, please. Okay, now let's look at main agendas of climate change. There's basically just 2 agendas. One is mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation, as you all know, is related to reducing or stopping greenhouse gas emissions. And since Paris Agreement in 2015, global society set the goal net zero by 2050 to keep the temperature under 1.5 degrees Celsius. And also, people also use the term carbon neutrality, carbon neutral. And so net zero and the carbon neutral can be used interchangeably. Okay. And then the other issue is adaptation, which is related to changing infrastructures, healthcare systems, lifestyle, production and consumption practices, social safety nets, agricultural practices, etc., to minimize the potential impacts from climate change. But unfortunately, for a long time, international community has just, especially since Tokyo, has primarily and heavily focused just on mitigation issues. But because of the intensive hurricanes and wildfires and all this, and also the desertification, all this, it brings attention to the adaptation issues. Okay. And this year's COP27 in Egypt will, the discussion would most likely focusing on first financing and also they will discuss intensively on adaptation issues. Next, please. So what should we do to stop and adapt to climate change? Next, please. So these are the targets of SDG. SDGs 13. So there are the target, it has a target and indicators. And when you look at this, carefully, it is because some of you might think a target and the indicator might not be relevant to, say, Korea or United States or the EU, because most of them already taking action on all this. But it is designed and agreed this way because it is looking at, it is the universal target, meaning that developing countries and developed countries all has to follow. And that's why some of these targets and indicators you might think may not be relevant to the country you are living, which is Korea or the United States. But the reason behind is, as I just explained, is based on the universal. It is the universal targets and indicators. That's why. Okay, so first one is strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related disasters, and it has 3 indicators. Next, please. And integrate climate change measures into policy and planning. It means mainstreaming the climate change measures into policy and planning, rather than looking at it as a separate project or agenda. And this is important because the climate change has an impact on everything, okay? And also everything we do, transportation, production, and consumption, all affects to climate change. So it's a two-way relationship. And so integration or mainstreaming climate change measures into policy and planning is important. Next, please. Target 3 is build knowledge and capacity to meet climate change. This one is, to me, I would say, very fundamental and important and urgent target. Because, say, if you have a full understanding of the cause of climate change, okay, and the sources of climate change, including sustainable development itself, if you know all this and learn all this from elementary school to higher education, you will think about the linkages between what you do and its impact on sustainable development and climate change. So put sustainable development or climate course as a required course is very important, because through that, you learned the why, And then you will think about how to connect what I do to solve climate change issues and sustainable development issues. So to me, so the education is very important part. But in Korea, it's not yet, the course is not yet taught even at the university, and just the students who are interested in this topic, they choose to learn this, but not campus-wide and university-wide education program is set. Nationwide education program is developed and applied. Next, please. Target 13A is implement the UNFCCC on climate change, UNFCCC. So they put this because what they mean is that what's agreed on the UNFCCC has to be followed and committed, okay? And especially with the providing financial resources. For the developed countries, they have human capacities, technologies, and financial resources to deal with climate change and sustainable development issues. But most of developing countries, they don't have. But this climate change issue is not the country issue, it's a global issue. And so developing countries taking action on to prevent climate change, they need financial resources, and they need capacity buildings, and they need technologies. But without money, none of it can be done. And so this target is just simply saying that commit and act on the agreement, okay? Commitment you made to finance the climate change issues. Next, please. Promote mechanisms to raise capacity for effective climate-related planning and management. This is, as I just said, we need, in a broad sense, three. One, capacity building, especially human capacity building and institutional capacity building, and technology transfer, and financial resources. But the many developing countries, they don't have all of this. And some might have, but not enough. Okay, next, please. So we need and we have to make fundamental changes to deal with the climate change. One, social, the other one political, and the other one economy, and the other is technology. Social, changing behavior. Okay, changing behavior. Social change can be done, and changing behavior can be done through regulations, laws and regulations. But it has a limits, as we all have experienced, that in many other areas, okay, crimes and and gender equalities and all these many social issues. There is a laws and regulations, but we have still have the same crimes and problems and so on. Okay. And so, again, education comes to change the behavior, okay? And also, when we have made many progress because of the civil societies, NGOs activity, they pressure the politicians and the industries, and so they are slow, but they are moving. And so to make it more faster, education will be the answer. I should not say the answer. One of the important solutions to change the society and behavior. And political is a policy, okay? And economy and technology. Next, please. I just explained the social change, so I will skip this. Next, please. Political change is, in some sense, policy changes, okay? So, as you may already know, some countries, including Korea, already made changes in their policies. And for example, EU announced to achieve carbon neutral economy by 2050, and also it established Green New Deal policy and action plans. And United States announced to achieve carbon neutral by 2050 and 100% renewable energy, RE100 by 2035. And also recently, they also passed the Inflation Act, okay, which has a lot of the contents related to the action plans related to the climate change. And China promised to achieve carbon neutral by 2060. And Korea in 2018 made an act, the basic law on to achieve sustainable development goals. And then since then, they have developed 4 action plans. So political change. So it suggests to integrate and reflect the sustainable development philosophies and values in all government policies and action plans and projects. Okay, not action policy, action plans. And so, as I said before, rather than treating it as another independent policy or project, we have to integrate principles of climate changes and sustainable developments and the values of sustainable development and the climate change into all government policies and action plans, and also the government financed projects. Next, please. And changing economy. Fortunately, the production cost of environmentally and climately friendly energy is gradually decreasing. In developed countries, the solar is already cheaper than fossil fuels. Okay, and all this, even we change economic behavior, political behavior, and social behavior, if we do not have technology, okay, we could not achieve this. So technological innovation is very important. And fortunately, the digital technologies, the AIs, and that comes with first industrial revolution, we already have. So technology is here, and all we have to do, we have to change all this our behavior. Next, please. So What do we need? We need to delete obsolete mindset of the past. We are living in 21st century, and we are facing with the challenges that no one has ever experienced. The manufacturing, the digital age manufacturing does not help much in the analog type of manufacturing will not be appropriate for the 21st century economy. Okay, so we have to utilize the digital technologies. Okay, and also we need to develop new strategies based on 3R: resilience, regeneration, recirculation. And so because of this, global society is now resiliency, they didn't even talk about a few years ago. Okay? And regeneration, same, and recirculation. But now international and global community is focusing on resilience, regeneration, and recirculation. And so they have a circular economy or Green New Deal, and all this comes with based on these three new strategies. Next, please. For the developing world, we need to provide the following assistance: capacity building, as I said, and providing necessary technologies, and provide financial resources for mitigation and adaptation. Next, please. So, as a closing remark, I would like to share with you the sites from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Once he said that currently our civilization is having a hot battle with nature. But the outcome of the battle is so obvious. Humanity will lose. Therefore, this is not we destroy the nature, but it is the war that we destroy ourselves. Do you agree? Okay, I can see Yunso nodding his head. And also, according to United Nations Environmental Program, UNEP's emission gap report, it states that the change in behavior and change in system are like the two sides of the coin. They cannot be separated. They are reinforcing to each other. Okay? System changes behavior, behavior changes system. But I think more important one, because mostly system change is done by the politicians, and they are very reluctant to the change. Okay? And so it's the people who can push the government to change the system. And to do that, we as a people and as an individual, we have to change our behavior. Next, please. So can we succeed? I briefly explained that the countries, EU, USA, Korea, China, this have policies and targets and so on. But my question is that can you succeed if we have right and appropriate policies and strategies? I say no. Why? Because it is the action that makes policies and strategies succeed. It doesn't matter how nice the policies and strategies are if we don't act on it. It's just the paper, things on the paper, okay? So we cannot succeed without taking action. Therefore, we have to utilize every available resources and efforts to achieve sustainable development and SDGs, including climate change, when we have a time to restore the damages already done before we reach the planetary boundaries. Okay. And so otherwise, we think we are destroying the nature. If I cite the UN Secretary's quotation again, but actually we are destroying ourselves. Next, please. So we cannot succeed without taking action. Therefore, oh no, it says mistake. I should have deleted this. Okay, next, please. So as a last word, I would like to say that let's act now with policies and strategies developed with a vision and philosophy, and leave no one behind. This is the vision that the UN members agreed when they agreed on SDGs, 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Next, please. Okay, thank you for your attention. And if you have in the future any questions or the inquiries with regard to sustainable development and climate change or other subjects related to connected to this, and you can email me. Just email away. Okay. Thank you. If you have any questions or clarification questions, please, you're welcome to have a question.